Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Semi-Professional Academic Podcast. As always, I am your host with the most student debt, Jacob Watts. And joining me today is an iconic person, one of my absolute best friends, fellow Dragonfly honoree, Carly Nau. Carly, thank you so much for joining us today on this episode of the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I know it was a long walk from the car.
Yes. Oh, yes. I got my steps in today for sure.
For sure. And for those of you who don't know, Carly and I are both lucky enough to be at the same school. So like we're,
Heck yeah.
even though we never see each other anymore.
Literally never.
Yeah.
We
And
see each other every day.
literally.
Like once a month.
If that's just like the true adult friendship, be like, hey, miss you. I'll see you next month.
Yeah, literally. It's like, oh, well, I can't do next month or I can't do next week. But
Yeah. I'm so excited to get into this.
me too.
Yeah. Carly was actually one of the first people I talked about doing a podcast with. And do you remember what you said to me, Carly?
Oh, God, no.
Exactly that. Oh my gosh. Carly and anyone who may be joining in for the first time, the entire purpose of this podcast is to kind of dive into those to people who are in college, are in graduate school, are involved in education, academia, or maybe had ties to that and then left. So this is all about kind of humanizing people in academia and education, but we're keeping it semi-professional because we got things to do. We don't got time to be
Okay.
all professional like that all the time. So are you ready?
Yes, let's get into it.
Yeah, awesome. So Carly, for those of you who not those of you, but those who don't know you, tell us like a little bit about yourself and like where you're from.
Okay, well, I am a senior undergraduate student at EIU. I'm originally from Manhattan, Illinois. It's right next to like Joliet-ish area. I don't know if anyone knows that.
I'm sitting right here and I have no idea where the fuck you're saying any of this
45
from.
minutes southwest from Chicago. I'll give you that one. We're not like Naperville, who says that they're from Chicago, because we're not. No.
I hate people that do that. Just like you're not though. Like
No,
you're not
it's
from the place.
It bugs me so much because like my freshman year roommate, she was like, "Yeah, I'm from Chicago, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool." I was like, I'm like 45 minutes from there. Like, we can totally meet up before we move in together, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, yeah, we can meet at the Orland Park Mall. For those of you who don't know, Orland Park is still like 45 minutes, 30 minutes out of Chicago. So it's not Chicago at all. But she was saying that it was. So we have a lot of those people.
Just say you're near wherever. Like,
yeah, it's like, don't pretend that you're Chicago if you're not in it. Like, I don't get the people who do that. Stop trying to be a pick-me.
literally. And like, so I'm from like southern Indiana, and there's about like 40 miles north of Louisville, Kentucky, and I would meet people like who said they were from Louisville, but then it'd be literally like 20-30 minutes out of Louisville. It's like, so you're not from Louisville, babes.
Yeah,
like,
it's like, I get if you're like, oh, I'm by an area, or like I'm close to an area,
yeah,
like whatever city.
That's totally
like that.
Totally fair, totally fine.
Different though. It's not like, don't say that you're from Chicago when you're actually from Orland Park. I'm sorry, they're way two different places.
Literally. So, from Manhattan.
Yes, I'm from Manhattan. I am a psychology major, even though I'm no longer doing stuff with psychology. And I'm solely working on my nutrition minor, but I also have a biology minor, and that's how me and Jacob met.
Yeah, and fun fact about that, we actually met in an animal behavior class.
Crazy.
It was absolutely that was actually my first class I attended at EIU. Really. Because I obviously didn't do my undergrad here, so I was coming in for my master's, and it was very like nerve-wracking. Like it made no sense because I came straight from undergrad to my master's program. So literally, like, it should not have made me nervous to be in a class with undergrads at all, but it really did. Because I don't know. I think once you like complete a chapter, you feel weird about going back, but like I was literally like in this exact position 4 months ago. This should not be that big of a deal. But I would come in like I was so nervous and everything, and I didn't know anybody, and I thought like everybody would know everybody because I went to a very small liberal arts school to a very, not very large, but like a larger state school.
Oh, and that's so funny because we're like a really small campus.
I know, but like to me, I mean, you guys got stoplights on campus. We didn't have that.
Stoplights?
Well, like
we have crosswalks.
Okay, we didn't have that either. Okay, like y'all have a bowling alley on campus. Like we didn't have that either. So like,
okay, I'll give you that one.
Like frame of reference, my undergrad when I graduated had about 1,100 students.
Yeah, no, not Eastern.
Yeah, so like it's a jump, okay? So like everybody knew everybody.
I mean, that's still kind of how it is here. It's I feel like it's still cliquey. Like this just reminds me of like a boarding school. Like it's still very like high school-y. There's all that drama still and like everything like that. Just like times like 2 or 3 depending how big your high school was.
Yeah, well, I just get bigger and bigger every time. So like my high school, I graduated with 90 people.
Oh, so you're working your way up.
Working my way up. Upgrades, people,
yes,
upgrades. I swear, I should just make this a robots podcast. Like in every episode, I've referenced robots.
Well, we're going to watch robots later, so it's perfect.
Yeah, I want you all to know that I told Carly I saw robots in theaters, and she looked at me like I said I was 5,000 fucking years old.
Okay, that's literally not true. I was more jealous that you got to see it in theaters than anything else, because robots is my jam.
Do you remember like the McDonald's toys you get like in the Happy Meal? Like they gave you the metal card. I love those. Back when McDonald's had good toys in the Happy Meal.
When they had the good stuff. Now they just have like little
board games.
They had playing cards. They had Uno. It was like, oh shoot, I don't even remember if it was like the McDonald's characters or if it was like, I don't know. It was some characters on the Uno cards. And I'm like, why are we giving out Uno? Why can't we get these toys back? You know?
I don't know. Like that was a better time. I will say that.
Back in my day.
Not the back in my day. I've had to say that so much more since I've started teaching.
I can't.
Yeah.
Dude, I had in my club, because I'm the president of the psychology club. I was talking to them about my birthday. And I wanted them to help me caption my Instagram birthday post, which I never actually ended up posting. But that's not important to the story. So one of the girls was like, yeah, my birthday's the day after yours. Can I steal one of these captions? I'm like, heck yeah, girl, go for it. Like, this is a collaborative effort. Take what you want. Like, I don't own anything. And so we're like chit-chatting, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, so how old are you going to be turning? And she goes, 19.
Ew.
I'm 22 years old. I looked at her. I said, you are turning 19? So as of right now, you are 18 years old. And she goes, yes. And I was like, my jaw dropped. I'm like, how is that possible? How are you a literal child? And I'm 22 years old. And we're interacting like this. Like, threw me for a loop, man. I felt like I was 80 in that moment.
Dude, if you want to feel like you're 80, so I teach undergraduate students, mainly like freshmen. And one of them said, I'm convinced they did not think I could hear them.
Oh God!
Because like I passed one of them in the hallway, and they said, "Yeah, my TA is so old. He was born in the 1900s." And I was like, "No, not the 1900s."
Stop! I hate that they're like referring. Literally, I was born in 2001, but like. That still hurts my soul because my older siblings were born in like 1995, 96. So it's like, oh, that hurts.
No, it
I'm like an honorary 90s kid, I feel like.
Yeah. And like it just like stung my soul because they weren't incorrect, but they were also not correct.
Like technically, yes, they were correct, but politically, they were not.
Politically.
That is politically incorrect. Thank you very much.
It was very much that scene from The Office where Kelly was like, I have many questions. Like, number one, how dare you? But yeah, so back to what we originally were talking about. Carly and I met in animal behavior.
Yes.
And
we like instantly clicked.
Literally,
we were friends day one.
Literal, my day one. Like the first friend I made at EIU. And it was so weird because the class was so small. Keep in mind, this was like peak COVID regulations.
Yeah, like we had that was like the 2 semesters after everyone was originally sent home the first time because of COVID. So like windows are open, masks are on, desks are spaced apart.
Humidifiers are on.
Yes, there's like a total of 8 people in the class.
Yeah, which I didn't necessarily hate.
I kind of liked the small class, but then it was like awkward when nobody would show up on Fridays and it was just like me, you, and Cassie.
Yeah, Cassie.
Like sitting there, and Cassie sat all the way across the class.
Cassie is the third.
She's the third to our group.
Yeah. No, and we say third just mean like she's not here right now. That's not, we're not placed or anything.
She decided to graduate early and leave us. How dare she?
But like, can we blame her? No, we cannot. We cannot blame her at all. Yeah. But it was so I can't even like describe it. Like it just felt so easy, just like connecting.
It was like, it wasn't like being like, oh well, I have to like, you know, those dumb like rules that people make up for texting.
Oh my god, don't even get me started.
Well, I can't open their message because they're still in the chat and blah blah. Like no, it like we never had any of that. Like I gotta make sure that I wait the same amount of, like no.
No, I
didn't have any of that.
I'm an old man. I don't have it in me.
No, I will literally sit in the Snapchat chat with you while your Bitmoji is actively typing, and I'll sit there and I'll wait. I'll watch your Bitmoji do its little texting. Like,
yeah. When like, it just felt like there was no games. Like it was like just genuine. Like, hey, I have no idea what the fuck I'm doing. Like, let's do it together.
Oh my god, we can't even tell them our project, the story of us working on the project together.
Oh my gosh. No, we can get into it a little bit. So first day, keep in mind, we're in a class of like, what, 8 people?
There's literally like 8 people, and then I think somebody dropped after the first day.
Yeah, so like about 7.
Yeah.
And so, this is so funny. I love telling this story. So Carly and I decide like, hey, do you want to like work on this project together? And it's like, yeah, absolutely. And then like I go home and then I get a message from Carly. I was like, hey, Cassie talked to me about like joining our group. Do you want to? I was like, yeah, sure. Like the more the merrier. Like let's have fun with this.
Okay, but like to mention, Cassie chased me down. Okay.
And Cassie doesn't do that.
No, Cassie is like, she doesn't talk to people. Like she keeps to herself. She's like so introverted to people she doesn't know. Yeah. So she like literally out of the bio building, I'm like walking back to my building, and I just get this like tap on my shoulder, and this girl is like winded, her hair is blowing everywhere. She's like, hey, is it okay if I like join your group, or like do you want to work on the project together? And I was like, yeah, I already have a group partner, but like I'll text him and ask. And she was like, oh, like okay, like wasn't really sure. And I was like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. And it's so funny because anyone who knows me, like I'm always down for like a party. Like I'm all like bring someone else. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And so it felt so easy like connecting with like everybody because I feel like we're all like past the bullshit of just like, hey, like let's just do this and like let's have some fun.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because like part of this data project that we did was you had to design a project that was semester long to collect data. So we thought, let's just do bears. Like let's work on bears. So like we like measured like how often they would like appear, strikes,
it was like,
and like a bunch of other.
They caught a fish or something.
I honestly forget like all the things that we did, but like. So, and keep in mind, like the first, like we did for like a week, and then we had a check-in point, and we were feeling so good in ourselves. We were like, we had this prepared, we had this done.
Our group chat was popping off.
Yeah, we were like, oh my gosh, look at all this data we had. We had like this Google Excel sheet. Like we were killing it. We were killing that first week.
One, and our professor's like, I'm gonna meet with every single group, and you're gonna tell me your plan. You're gonna tell me what you got done. Blah 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 blah. And we had all of that. We had that ready to go.
We had averages and everything.
Dude,
like
we were so prepared.
We were so prepared, and we walk in there thinking that like, oh my gosh, you guys are doing great.
Yes.
Read us for fucking filth the whole damn time.
No, because he asked questions like the most like weirdest questions ever. Like we weren't expecting it at all.
Like he was literally like, so what is your standard deviation? I was like, no other group has
like,
data yet. Like
what? So he literally, dead ass, he stares us in the eyeballs, in the eyes.
To our souls. To our souls.
Literally. And he goes, well, clearly you guys are not communicating at all. You guys really, if you're going to do good at this project, you have to get this under control. Like, you have to talk to each other. Like, it's clear that you guys aren't talking. And we were like, what?
And so we all were just like, okay. And then, like, I walked out of there defeated. And I was just like, guys, I'm so sorry. Like, I really thought, like, we were together. And I just love that we collectively came to be like, this professor has no idea what the fuck he's talking about. Like, we're doing great.
No idea. But then, like, we talked to every single other group that was there. I say every single other group. It was literally, like, 4 other people.
The rest of the class.
Yeah, the rest of the class. And everyone was like, yeah, he, like, dreamed us, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, yeah, no, he was, like, rough for no reason. And mind you, we're all sitting in this classroom, spaced apart. It is the professor, and then it is your group, and then that is it. So you're going in one at a time, like it's a freaking interview. And he is sitting there, laid back, with his feet up on another chair. And these chairs are, like, office chairs, so he's, like, kind of reclined in them. And it was just, like, the most uncomfortable situation ever.
It was very much dad on vacation, telling you he's disappointed.
85 degrees, too. It was so hot.
Yeah. And then, because, again, COVID time was great when we had the windows open.
Yes.
So, like, we can
except when it was freaking snowing and they were doing construction outside of our window. And our professor's like, you have to have it open.
There was rocks coming through the window. Literal tubes from the damn 3rd floor falling into our, like, windows. And we're like, can we close this, please? And he goes, it's COVID. Like, no. And, like, keep in mind, we're having the door open, the humidifier going, and everyone's in masks, spaced at least, 6 feet apart?
More than 6 feet. That was a ginormous... That classroom could easily fit 50 people in it, and there was, like, 7 of us.
Yeah, like, so, like...
That was not...
And so, like, I don't want to, like, discredit anything, but, like, when it's snowing and, like, there's literal debris falling from into the windows, please just let us close a couple windows.
And I feel like they need to know too that, like, the classroom is partially underground, so the windows are pretty high up, like, on the wall. So it's, like, literally straight up, just falling into the classroom.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And, like, they were actually, like, digging. They were, like, using cranes and power tools and hammers and everything, and we couldn't hear anything going on and what he was saying. And
also, he never turned the lights on once the whole time,
which that was actually kind of nice.
Dude, the way I almost fell asleep like a million times.
Every single time. And why were we the only ones who would talk in that class too?
No, because here's the thing. We would literally talk and question and be like, hey, like, I think it's this. And he goes like, okay. And then this one student, I won't name her.
Oh my God.
I won't name her, but you know exactly.
To say his name.
I was talking about the student. But, like, yeah, but because, we're not going to name names on here for, legal. But she literally could be like, yeah. And he'd be like, amazing answer! Amazing answer!
Like, freaking bow down to her. He was obsessed with her. And not even in, like, a weird, creepy teacher way. Like, he just, like, put her on a pedestal. And anything that she said was, like, God's coming down and, like, whispering in his ear.
Literally. And, like, I want to reiterate, like, she was incredibly smart. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. But, like, it was so funny because when she made, like, really smart points, he was like, yeah, exactly. But when she said, like, the bare minimum, he was like, yes! And it's like, what's going on? Like, why?
Oh, and his exams were awful.
Don't even get me started.
On D2L. And it was literally, like, a 50, 80 question exam? Like, it was a long exam.
Oh, yeah. And
you can only do one question at a time. And once you moved on from that question, you could not go back.
And keep in mind, you only had an hour to do this.
Yes.
So you had less than, like, a minute per question. And his questions were hard.
Oh, they were so hard.
And I'm someone that, like, I like having the option to, like, go forward or...
Well, because you want to be able to skip. Like...
Yeah. And, like, there were some exams that I just did not finish. Yeah. So we can't go back. And
remember the one? We literally did it here. And, I think you turned it in, like, past the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
And I turned it in, like, with, like, 2 seconds to spare.
Yeah. That was a day and a half.
Oh, my God.
Because literally we said, like, hey, do you, like, want to meet a little bit to study first? And, like, yeah, sure.
No, we had, like, gotten together, like, 2-3 hours in advance.
Yeah. And we started studying because we thought the exam was due at 4.
Yeah.
But really, it was due at 2:30. So I texted and I was like, dude, we got to go. So, like, we had this whole plan that, like, we're going to study and then we're going to take it separate. But then I was like, we don't have time anywhere. So, like, we'll just go to opposite corners of my... tiny ass apartment and then we'll just like do what we can because like it was either because like ideally, like, you know, like you don't want to be in the same room as someone else who takes the exam because that opens you up. But like at that point, it's like, dude,
it didn't even matter.
Dude, I was like, I'm not gonna cheat. I know you're not gonna cheat, so we'll just go to opposite rooms because.
Yeah, I didn't have time to go anywhere else.
No,
like...
and like, no offense, this is my apartment. I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah.
so we just took it, and like we thought like we were good.
Oh yeah, we were so confident.
Misplaced. But I will say though, like towards the end of it, like we did get better at the exams because you knew. I always bombed.
You got better. I don't know how I got to be in that class. I have not a clue.
We carried lecture, to be honest.
We did, and like I would like sit there and I'd be genuinely like confused or concerned about something, and I'd be like, "Hey, Dr. So-and-so, like, can you explain this?" And he's like, "Well, clearly you just need to read the PowerPoint." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, thanks."
Though the way I fully believe he did not like teaching that class.
No, I just don't think he liked us.
And then
I'm gonna be honest,
which is so weird because then we get to the final project presentations.
Oh God.
And. No offense, like we think we killed this. Like
we did so good.
Like we think we killed it. Like people, because like what you did is like you recorded your PowerPoint. People scored you.
Mm-hmm. So you had to listen to everyone else's in the class.
Yeah, and I don't think we were the best. Like no. I'll fully admit that, but we definitely were not the worst.
No, I would have ranked us like second.
I would have ranked us second. I would have had us either second or like tie for second with someone else.
Yeah, because there were some really good ones.
Yeah, but keep in mind we were the only group of three. Everyone else was either like a group of two or like by themselves. And so we were like, wow. So I think part of the reason why like we got, because we didn't do bad, we got a B, but I feel like we deserved like an A-.
We definitely should have gotten an A on it though. I mean, okay, to be fair, do we want to go into the depth of this project?
Yeah.
Okay, so we all, so to collect the data, we all had a separate time that we were looking so that we weren't collecting the same data. So, like, Jacob would look in the morning, Cassie in the middle of the day, and I would look at night. However it was set up. I don't even remember.
The way we did it was we didn't want to
even know.
We didn't want to like analyze every single day. Mm-hmm. So we decided to do it on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah,
So we did it for 4 weeks, and which like gave us about like 8. Is my math right on that? Yeah. Yeah, sorry. So we got about like 8 total days worth of data, which is like not a whole lot, but it's not bad.
But also like we were cut off like.
Well, that's what I was getting ready to say. Because then we go into week 5, and we get cut off because our cameras, which by the way, guys, like we were having, because it was virtual, so like we had to like look into like cameras going around, and like that's how everyone's was. Yeah. Like you just gotta watch the live feed of a project, and like you kind of like piggybacked off that. Mm-hmm. But and then we said like, hey, we got cut off, so like we don't know like what to do. And keep in mind, like we submitted him like our project proposal and everything. And he low-key seemed like mad.
Okay, but 3 other people did the same cam as we did.
Yeah, so
like half the class is out at this point. We have no more data to collect.
So about like 76% of the class.
Literally.
And so he's low-key mad.
Yeah, he's pissed.
Yeah, I'm just lucky his favorite student like also got cut off because he was not about to be.
He had like no idea what to do, which like should have been better planning on his part because he had to approve it. Yeah. And he's the one who suggested that cam, actually.
He really did, because we didn't.
Yeah, no. Because you had to sit there for like an hour at a time, dedicate an hour of your time to watch this bear cam, and sometimes there just weren't even bears. When I went, because when I looked, it was at nighttime, okay? And also, there was a lot of confusion, because the bear cam was in Alaska, so the times were different. And I don't think we, like, specified if when we were writing the times down, if it was going to be Alaskan time or, like, our time.
Wait, what did you do? Did you do our time or did you do Alaskan time?
I think I did our time.
No, that actually works out great because we all missed successfully because Cassie did our time and then I did our time as well.
Perfect. But like I was so confused. Like,
so we all said like, yeah, we'll do Alaskan time, and then none of us just did it. So like that part like was messed up but all correct at the same time.
We're sitting in Jacob's apartment trying to put this final presentation together. Okay.
Horribly, by the way. It's going bad.
I'm sitting there and I have major like imposter syndrome. Like I'm sitting there, I am twiddling my thumbs. I'm doing like the bare minimum because swear to God, I felt like I had no idea what I was doing at all. And Jacob and Cassie are sitting there and they're like, oh, well, we're going to put this in and this in and this in and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there like trying to make a graph out of like 4 numbers.
Which also, by the way, we were the only ones that were doing like these kinds of graphs, and
nobody else did it.
And we got red for filth again. So like, just not to be that guy, but like we were not gonna do well on this project, no matter what we did.
No, we wouldn't have because they had it out for us. I think we were the only ones who actually had fun in that class, and they kind of hated that.
I honestly had so much fun, and like, what was so rude about it is like we literally went like.
Every single day.
We went every single day.
Except for like once,
yeah.
I think. And
then he got so shitty with us.
Oh my God, he was so mad.
Keep in mind, like there would be some days where it was literally just the 3 of us showing up.
Not even that. Sometimes Cassie just wouldn't go. So it'd literally just be me, you, and our professor.
And so like I don't want to be that guy, but we carried that class.
No, we did. Like if it weren't for us, like he literally wouldn't have had a class to teach most days. Like most days.
Yeah. But you know, like all impossible standards aside, I literally loved it. I got to meet you. I got to meet Cassie. And like, I honestly had a lot of fun.
No, it was so fun. Besides like the exams and the projects and everything, like being in that class itself, because it wasn't like super early in the day.
It was
like a midday class, right? Like 11 o'clock or something?
No, girl, it was 1 o'clock.
Oh. That was a year ago.
But like it was my first class of the day. And Carly was like, if this is my first class of the day, I wouldn't go. I wouldn't go. And I'm just like, wow.
No, it was my last class of the day. So at that point I was like, well, I have to go. I'm already out and about. And
it was so funny because I had a class right afterwards. And I'm not gonna lie, like it was on like he did like Microsoft Teams for the class, and like I love going in the class, don't get me wrong, but there's just some days like, you know, where you're just like where like you have too much shit going on and you're just like, I gotta go. So I would look at them anytime I wanted to skip. I didn't go to Carly because then so I looked at Cassie and I was like, hey, can I go home? And she goes, yes.
No, because I'm always like, you need to go to class. Like I don't skip classes. I rarely skip classes.
And then I want you all to know that out of the 3 semesters, not 3, but out of the 4 semesters I've known her, she skipped more classes than me every single time.
Last semester is an exception. I don't know what it was, but my 9 a.m. class was not it. And I loved it. It was like one of my first nutrition classes. I loved going to it. But physically getting up at 9 a.m., not even 9 a.m., 8 a.m., my alarm going off at 8 a.m., the latest it could possibly go off for me to get to that class in time. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. There was something about it. And I've had plenty of 9 a.m.s in the past. It was just that semester. I just couldn't do it. It was rough.
Yeah. And on that note, let's take a break. And we're back. So, Carly, we kind of explored, like, the biology side of your career.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
We talked a little bit about the nutrition aspect. Mm-hmm. But kind of talk about the main focus of your studies, like psychology and and how that like kind of fit into your career at EIU.
I love psychology. I have actually known that I wanted to do psychology since I was in high school. And like at first I had like no interest in it when I was in high school, and then I had to take an elective and everyone was taking AP Psych, and I was like, oh, I mean, I guess I'll take AP Psych, you know, like the worst that'll come out of it is I'll learn some like mind tricks to play on my brothers, you know?
as one does, yeah.
Because I had like absolutely no idea what I wanted to do in college. Like I was gonna go in undecided, but then I took the psychology class and I was like love at first sight. It was like I was that obnoxious student that anytime the professor said anything, it was like. Not the professor, it was high school, so like the teacher, he would say anything, I would like raise my hand and I'd like apply it to my own life and I'd be like, yeah, I know so-and-so and blah 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 blah. Like I was that student, and it was honestly I cringe at it. Like I hate that I was ever that student in my life. If you're that student, don't be offended, but nobody likes you.
No, I used to be that. I used to be that student too. Like I was the one in my high school biology class that the teacher paced their lectures to me part of it stemmed that like I have an intense need to thrive off academic validation. So like I understand like that's on me. Like I have a problem. But like when the teachers saw me like being done, like they moved on to the next one. And I developed shorthand. I don't use it anymore, but like I use like my own abbreviations for like especially biology, like genetics or like enthalpy, or like I would make up signs so like I knew what they were.
See, I was not like that at all.
I was so a tryhard, but like you get valedictorian by doing that. But which helped in the scholarship long run, which was like my goal. But like that's a whole other issue.
Yeah, no, I was a student. I wrote every single thing that was on the slide down, word for word, everything.
I wrote down like quotation marks. Yep.
Everything. So clearly psychology was my passion from that point on. Yeah. And what I had known, my psychology journey is crazy, like just a mess. It's a whole mess. So originally I was like, absolutely not. I will not do counseling. Counseling, like I cannot be a therapist. I'll be a horrible therapist. I don't want to listen to other people's problems, blah, 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 blah. So I had no idea what aspect of psychology I wanted to go into. So I met with career services at EIU when I finally became a student here. And they were like, oh, well, you can do this, you can do that. And I just wasn't, like, really into that at all. And then they're like, oh, well, you can do research and then just become, like, a professor at a college. And I was like, yep, that's it. That's the one that I'm doing. Knowing that I wanted to do research, I did not start doing research until my senior year. So that's funny. We'll get back to that.
No, but before we do, I just kind of, like, want to touch on that because I think it's so smart, and I recommend anyone who does this at any level to reach out to career services. Yes. Like they literally are there to help you. Like that's their whole job.
So happy that you're there too. Like career services, they have been my saving grace at EIU. They have gotten me jobs. They've got me internships. They're really the reason that I'm at where I'm at today. Like they just go, like I meet with them once a semester just to say hi. Yeah. Like, I schedule a whole meeting just to be like, how you doing? How's your daughter? How's this? Like...
Yeah, and, like, just... There's going to be so many times in your career, whether in academia or not, you really just have to jump on any opportunity. Yeah. To have and see what happens. And, like... And you're doing that. And, like, I just wanted to, like, highlight that.
Yes, no, career services is... a 10 out of 10 if you're... I mean, I think every college has one, right?
Yeah, or at least some for
some
that,
form
like...
of it. Career counseling or...
like, workforce prep, like, something like that. Like, I remember in my undergrad, like, we had that, and, like, they would literally help, like, give you mock interviews, that kind of thing, which... Look into those resources, because odds are, like, they're not...
And, like, go as a freshman, because since I knew these people, since I was a very itty-bitty baby freshman, when I was writing my resume and writing my cover letter and my personal statement for graduate school, they were able to sit there and, like, basically almost write it for me. Because they had known me so well, they were able to go in and say, oh, well, you can, like, put in this aspect of your life, or, like, oh... that doesn't sound like you wrote it, let's change it to this, or like stuff like that. So it's really good to know them before you need them.
Could not agree with you more. Like when you start applying to jobs or graduate program, that's not the time when you build relationships. No. And like you don't need to be best friends with everybody because I mean, let's be real here, that's just not gonna happen. But you have to kind of put in that energy to build that kind of like relationship so people know you, they know your character, they know your skills, and be vulnerable with people. I mean, like some of my best letters of recommendation, which some of them shared them with me, which I wish you got to see your own letters of recommendation, but just being vulnerable with those people, let them know what's going on. And I feel like especially this generation, like they don't want to, I say this as part of the generation, I'm Gen Z, look into it. But I think just having like that space of being vulnerable with someone, letting them know like what's going on, like what troubles you're having, that kind of thing. Like it's not necessarily an excuse all the times, because I mean, like, come on, like, you still got to do the damn thing. I mean, like, speaking as someone with anxiety and depression and an openly queer man with PTSD, we had a lot of shit going through. But letting people know what's going on and like what you're thinking about and like what things you've been through is not an excuse. It just shows like kind of in a way like how resilient you are, and like so don't.
It shows what kind of person you are, for sure, and how you bounce back from those situations. I mean, I have gone to them when I've been through the worst moments of my college career, whether it was with my academics or when, you know, I lost family members due to cancer and like unforeseen circumstances. Like, they have been there for me, and they have been like a second support system when I haven't had the chance to go home, or I just need someone who isn't directly in my life at that moment to give me advice on something. And like, one of the guys at Career Services, he wrote me a letter of recommendation. And he's like, oh, I'll send it to you before I turn it in. And I was like, oh, no, like, you don't have to. Like, I don't have to see it. And he's like, no, I want you to read my letter of recommendation. And I was like, okay, well, that shows what kind of person that he is, first of all. But then when I saw what he had wrote about me, like, I cried because it was such, like, a truthful and honest, like, recommendation of who I am as a person. And I know that he wasn't just making up, like, oh, well, so-and-so does good in this class and blah, blah, blah. Like, he was actually able to talk about me, like, as a person and how I would have benefited those schools that I was applying to.
Which is what you want in a letter of recommendation or for a school or a job.
Yeah.
You want, because anyone can do good grades, or anyone can, like, take a gap year and then, like, build up their GPA for an application cycle. But you can't teach character or that kind of thing. And I feel like unless you're just a shitty person, but like letting people see like the real authentic you, share your story, like let them in on you. Like they fall in love with you that way.
Yeah.
And then they root for you so much harder.
No, he really he feels like a grandfather to me. And he said to me before, because I've, again, been seeing him since fall of 2019. And he's like, yeah, Carly, I feel like I watched you, like, grow up and mature into this beautiful young woman. And, like, I don't know about y'all, but that makes me shed a tear.
that gets you so well.
That hits my soul.
Because they've been through the highs, lows, and everything. And be vulnerable. Fuck. You know, show up.
Don't be afraid.
You are never that. Life is that serious, but don't take yourself too seriously. Like, have fun, go for things, make the mistakes. And
you'll also figure out who is truly in your life for you when you are vulnerable.
100%. I say this, like, you really see who is there for you when you are in your lowest points. It's very easy to root for you when you're doing fantastic.
Or when you have something to give to somebody else. And, like, you know, when you're at your most vulnerable and when you need something from other people, that's when you find out who is really there for you, honestly. And who isn't using you because, oh, you have a car. And not everyone at college has a car, so you can drive them around. Or, you know, you're over age, or, you know.
Yeah, or you know people at this party to get you in, like. Or, like, you're very smart, like, you want to be in our group. Like, when all you have to give is yourself and, like, who you are as a person.
Yeah.
The people that, like, were really rooting for you will be like, that's enough.
And if you make those connections at Career Services,
there we go.
Back around.
Did we actually loop back to a point on natural? Wow.
Oh,
look at us go.
We got deep there for a second.
Yeah, Emmy Award win. Wait, can you get an Emmy? I don't know. Someone give me an award for this. I'm trying.
We'll get something.
Yeah. A restraining order.
But yeah, so Career Services, they helped me. They talked me through all of my options about what I can do with a psychology degree. And they watched me, again, from a baby 18-year-old freshman being, I don't want to be a counselor, to now being so passionate about wanting to go into therapy and being a trauma counselor or working in a hospital with those who have breakdowns that are so bad that they can't take care of themselves, or like things like that. Like, I'm just so passionate about that now. And they saw my journey through that. And I think that's something that's very special and most people actually don't utilize at all.
Which more people should. And this is why you're listening to this podcast, for advice. But we keep it semi-professional. So,
yeah, exactly.
And a lot of people know this or don't know this if they know anything about me, but my mom is actually a counselor. And seeing like all the work that she goes through, like she's been in like, she's done like freelance work. She's like done elementary school work and high school work. And she loves it all. But just seeing like the lengths that goes to, like, it's just awesome. And like, I know you're going to do great, Carly.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know where I was going with that. But Carly, so what's the plan now?
Well, as of now, I've decided I am actually going to take a gap year after I graduate. I have not been more excited about anything since I was accepted into going into Eastern. So I'm really excited just to be able to be out of school for the first time in my life for a full year. Take some time, actually work on myself, become the person who I want to be before I go into graduate school, and learn how to go and help other people. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited about that. I haven't really decided exactly what I'm going to do yet, because now I have all of the options in the world.
As you should, period.
Yeah. So, making decisions is already difficult for me, but when I have literally every option
when you have a multitude of options.
Yes.
Yeah. But, and like, I kind of want to like talk about that a little bit. And a lot of people who may or may not have like gotten in on the cycle or chose like, oh my gosh, is it bad for me to take a gap year?
Absolutely not.
Most people, like when you are graduating college, are 21, 22, 23, 24. You have your whole life. And I say this like in my 23 years of age, but you have to take care of yourself first. And
it's so important.
And I say this like as your friend, Carly, like ever since like you decided like to take the gap year, like there's like this little bit like a peace about you a little bit. And just giving yourself that space to kind of like really sit with yourself. Yeah. And know what you're doing.
No, the relief that I have from deciding that I'm going to take this gap year is like immense. Like I was so stressed when I was doing my applications and I was, waiting to hear back for interviews and everything like that. And there was just so much weight on my shoulders, which really like, it's not that it wasn't for nothing, but it just doesn't feel as serious when you put it into perspective. It's like I put all this pressure on myself. It was like I have to get into grad school. I have to do this. I have to do that. This is my next step. If I don't do this, like I'm on the wrong path and I'm not doing the right thing. It's fine for other people not to do it, but not for me. Like I was really in that mentality. And now that I've given myself the okay to take a break and to work on myself and do whatever I want for a year, like I feel lucky that I'm able to do that.
Yeah. And never try and like think your life has to hit this milestone at this certain time. I know people who are phenomenal in all career paths whose trajectories do not look anything like each other. So
yeah, no, it's crazy. And I have to remind myself of that too. And I know a lot of people do. I have a professor, my favorite professor. She took 12 years to get her bachelor's degree. And here she is, a doctor, teaching at a university, doing something that she loves.
Iconic, honestly.
Yeah.
And like, especially, I think people who like are very busy in undergrad, like you, for example, like this is not news, but Carly is president of a club. She's an RA. Yes, she's has an internship already. And then she's also has the one major, 2 minors, and have I mentioned you're president of the club yet already?
Yes, that was the first thing.
But so sorry. So like a lot of things, like you got a lot on your plate, and not to mention you're in a long distance relationship with your boyfriend of 6 years.
Yes.
And you're a very family oriented person.
Yes.
So
and I'm very far away from my family right now.
Yeah. So like, give yourself a minute to just sit. And I think that while this path may not look initially like and this is to anyone, while this path may not initially look like what you wanted it to or like how you envisioned it, sometimes just giving yourself that second to breathe and be like, I did that. I'm awesome. Like, will do wonders for you. Because as someone who's like struggled with their mental health for many years and is doing better, it really does like make an impact in you. And so just don't sacrifice yourself thinking you have to meet a quota. Yeah. Because that's not what this is about.
Yeah, exactly. And I was like so focused on trying to get my master's, trying to go immediately after that to get my doctorate. Like, I was so focused on that I was completely discrediting all the work that I did to get my bachelor's degree. And like, everyone would tell me, oh, it's an honor, you gotta honor it, like, not everyone gets this, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I knew that. But also, I just, like, I thought it was something like, oh, you know, it really doesn't matter because there's bigger degrees, there's better degrees, like, there's more honorable degrees that I could get. And it's like, no. Bachelor's degree is still a good degree.
Exactly.
Yeah, like you have worked to put in the hard work to get it. Like, it has not been easy, especially, and not to be that person, but especially during COVID.
Like, literally. And yeah, so moral of the story is life's hard, and
don't be hard on yourself.
Life's hard. Don't be hard on yourself. Take your wins and
embrace your losses.
That's such a good title for the episode. I mean, not to say like you're like, yeah, that's gonna be the title of the episode. Okay. I hope you don't mind. Like,
oh yeah, for sure.
And well, Carly, thank you so much for joining us on this podcast.
For having me.
Always fun to hang out with you.
Yes, I had a blast.
I know. And now, if you guys don't mind, we're gonna go eat Chinese food and watch the Robots movie.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah. Catch you next week, Bye. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter at the Semi-Professional Academic Podcast and. I really thought I had something else. Don't forget to nominate us for an Emmy Award because this shit is hard. Bye.
Bye.